Garrick has shown Rom and Lita 153 different wedding dresses from Tellurite Modern to Ryzian Traditional, and they've hated them all. Jake is now an official correspondent for the Starfleet News Service, and Odo has been thinking about asking Major Kira out to dinner, but he's decided against it. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 5, Episode 26, Call to Arms, written by legends Ira Steven Behr and Robert Hewitt Wolfe, directed by Alan Croker. This was June 16th, 1997. Alan Craker, thank you. It's a Nog episode. We're joined by Malissa Longo, and we're also joined by awesome, legendary writer, Robert Hewitt Wolfe.
Woo!
Yeah. All right.
Good intro, man.
I cannot contain myself,
but I'll take it.
All day, I've been thinking about this. When we were watching the episode, I don't know how you guys felt, but I was just like, oh my God, my mind is just exploding. And we're going to get to talk to Robert about it. And we have like 4 hours worth of questions for you. So everybody at home, put the kids to bed, put the parents to bed, put the spouses and partners to bed, the baby porcupines. It's party time. Let's have some fun. I'm done.
That was good hype, though.
I know.
He's good at that. He's
I'm
really
excited.
good.
Yeah.
I'm out of my mind.
I want you to be my hype man when I enter the octagon or whatever.
Yeah. No, but he's actually right, because this is a season finale episode, and there is a whole lot of stuff crammed into it. Which just makes me say, I'm sure you guys were having fun when you were preparing for how much stuff you wanted to cram into this episode.
Well, I mean, the truth is the A story is kind of like a slow burn, you know, in that it's like this ratcheting tension. The bad guys are coming, but they're not there yet, you know? And so we get to do a lot of personal stories, like all the stuff that Ryan just raised. It's interesting, like rewatching it. I actually forgot how much we managed to cram in, how much romance and weddings and like Jake becoming a reporter and having this conflict with his dad about it, and like Garrick and Zial. There's a lot of life in the show that isn't about the A story, or that is more vivid because the A story is coming. In other words, like it's like the cherry blossom thing, right? It's like, you know, Rom is concerned about where he's going to put Lita's clothes.
Yeah,
it's the most ridiculous thing ever, because spoiler alert, like they're not going to have quarters in a minute, you know. there's much bigger problems coming. But the idea of the episode is kind of like it's about the cherry blossoms, which are beautiful because they only exist for a few weeks and then they're gone. And the idea here is that these relationships are like more precious because we know that something's coming that could potentially upend all of them. And therefore, this whole idea of people trying to grab these last little bits of life as this impending doom comes at them is basically the idea of the episode.
Hey, real quick, too, something that also made me really excited for, you know, because this was kind of the last episode you were in the writer's room for, Robert, but you left us with so many great things. I was super excited for the new character, the new Starfleet character that was introduced, that, you know, is just amazing, right? Did you wait?
Oh, yeah.
Did I get that?
It's so blurry. Wounded Starfleet officer, dude.
There it is.
who has like a second of screen time. You can barely see me, right?
Yes.
So that's me.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah, me being dragged off the station as a wounded Starfleet officer. You can't really. I've got burn scars all down the side of my face. I'm like limping and I'm being helped off. It's in the background of the scene between Dax and Worf.
Yeah.
I should have lightened that up.
Evacuated. Yeah. I mean, the truth is I spent 2 hours in makeup, and I
Really?
you have to like search for a frame I'm actually in, which is pretty funny. I mean, I feel like I got the experience of what it's really like to be an extra. It was like, you're there all day long. You're in the shots over and over and over again. Then you watch the final cut and it's like, I'm barely in it. It's not like I got featured the way like Ira and everybody got featured in the real finale, right? In What You Leave Behind. Like they get they're in tuxedos and they get real shots, right?
Right.
I get dragged off the station. You can barely see me. It's awesome. Perfect. They wanted me to be a Vulcan, and that would have been another hour in makeup. And I was like, I'm not being effing Vulcan if I have to spend that much time in the makeup chair. I don't have time for that.
I'd like to see you signing headshots with that photo right there.
Yeah. Like, what would people pay for a headshot of me as a wounded Starfleet officer? Like $2.50. $2.50.
Was that like a parting gift, or was that something where you were like, I've always wanted to be on the set, or was it like Ira saying,
no,
you know what we're gonna do?
It was Ira, Ron, and Renee, I think, mostly, who just said like, you should do this, right? And so they set it up and had me do it, and it was fun. And they also did this really cool thing, which I can't find anymore. I think it's around somewhere. But when I left, there was in the episode, there's like not an ops scene, a briefing room scene, right? Conference room. I can't remember what we called it.
Yeah.
Where everyone is around the table. And they say like, this is Robert's last episode, and they all held up parentheticals under their faces that said sad. Sweet. It was really, really sweet. It was the whole cast, and it was just like, I wish I don't know where it is. Somebody has that. I have it somewhere on tape. It's probably like on 3/4 inch tape, or 1-inch tape. It's like 30-year-old VCR at this point. So who knows if it even plays anymore? 25 years old. But that was just super sweet. It was really nice of them to do.
What were those last days like for you, knowing that you were leaving and kind of moving on?
I mean, it was very, very bittersweet. The decision to leave was very, very difficult. And honestly, I still second guess it sometimes, even today. At the time, I'd been on the show for 5 years, from almost the very beginning, like episode 6 or whatever. And I was just burned out, man. I mean, we wrote 26 episodes a year. We took 1 week off for Christmas, 2 or 3 weeks off for summer. Like, I'd done my honeymoon as a hiatus trip. I was just tired, and also like I had other things going on. I had sold a feature, I had sold a pilot, and it felt like that's what I needed to be focused on. And I just was worried that if I stayed, I wouldn't really have anything. I'd be an empty tank. In retrospect, like I said, maybe I should have stayed, who knows? But at the time, it felt like the right thing. And so I asked Ira if it was okay, and we talked about it a couple times, and he was fine with it. I mean, I think he was not super happy about it, but he understood where I was coming from, and he wasn't going to hold me to a contract. The one thing that the thing I had to do was agree not to go on to another show that year,
really,
because I technically had a year left on my contract, and so he was like, "I'll let you go, but you can't. Paramount will be really, really upset if you jump onto another show. So like, go do your feature and your pilot, but as long as you don't do another show next year, it's all good." And so yeah, that's what I did. Like I said, to this day, I don't know whether that was the right thing to do. It felt right at the time. It felt like that's what I needed to do for myself. The other issue was that like I'd come in as the staff writer, and I got promoted every year. So I was a producer that year, but everybody above me had been promoted too, right? There was no one under me. I was still the lowest ranking guy on staff. I had
so it doesn't feel like a promotion.
Well, look, it felt like a promotion. Don't get me wrong. But the point was, like, I knew that I was never really going to be anyone. I was never really going to get the experience of like running my own show or supervising other writers on Deep Space Nine. That was just never going to happen, because even if I'd stayed till the end and gotten promoted all the way up to like supervising producer or co-EP, right, in season 7, I would have been a co-EP who'd never supervised another writer in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of felt like, I needed to try to do that. I needed to try to write on my own, because I was writing mostly with Ira. So I needed to write more things on my own. And like I said, I was just like, do I have anything left to say about these characters? you know, and I wasn't sure I did. I probably did, but I wasn't sure I did. So that's why I left.
Yeah. I bet you did.
I think you did, because this episode itself is proof of it, because you really touch on all the characters and the relationships that they have. Like, we see moments with Dax and Kira. We see all these relations, even Rom and Nog, you know, hey, Dad, good speech. You know, there were really good moments in this episode where you get to see the personal relationships that I think DS9 is so good at building.
I think that that's what we always were aiming for at the end of the day, right? Even in these big action episodes, like what we were always looking for was good scenes between our wonderful characters played by our terrific cast, right? Because we knew that look, that's money. That was money in the bank for us. Every time we could do any scenes like that, a scene between you and Avery, a scene between Aron and Avery, those scenes were always terrific, you know. And there's a great Nog Sisko scene in this episode. It's just like
you took the words right out of my mouth, Cadet. That was the scene that I really
the end. Oh my God! Like, you know, he gets the big determinative speech in a way, and then like Sisko's like yes, like that, and so. And look, what a generous actor Avery is too, right? There are 100% actors I've worked with subsequently who would have been like, I got to say that kid can't say that, I get to say it, you know. But Avery knew like how powerful that would be, and also like he's just a generous actor. He's just the kind of guy who's like not afraid to let the other characters shine in the scene with him. I mean, part of that I think comes from the confidence of being Avery Brooks and knowing that like. Doesn't matter, you know.
His legacy is good.
He's still Avery Brooks, you know. He's still Sisko, and like at the end of the day, he's going to get the last shot and the last word, and everything sort of revolves around his character ultimately. But like he just has a tremendous amount of confidence as an actor, and that I think is a lovely thing that let you and Aron and other people who were newer actors really both learn your craft and shine. What do you think? How did you experience that? Because that's how I'm seeing it from the outside.
Oh, absolutely. Avery really taught me while we were working at the same time. So it was like on the job training. You know, whether it was to make sure that my face got more camera, you know, make sure, you know, find the camera. He would say that all the time, find the camera, make sure you can feel the lens on you. Those were the kind of little, you know, tidbits that he just made me better at. And if I didn't even find the camera, he would grab my face and like tilt me towards
and like, look, like I've worked with some wonderful, wonderful actors, you know, I don't know if I've had some terrific experiences, but like, again, the cast of Deep Space Nine was spectacular, but like it is what you just said is such a rarity and a number one on the call sheet. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of people who are like, I don't give a crap if that kid can find his camera. I don't care if he gets a good shot. Because if he doesn't get a good shot, I get the shot. If he doesn't deliver the moment, I get to deliver the moment. And like, there are just actors for whom that's the game, you know? They're like, I'm going to win the scene, you know? And Avery, maybe because of the jazz background, like understood that you're not trying to win the scene. You're trying to play together in a really interesting and fun and surprising way. And I think that ethos really informed the entire series. It just is how the show look. Everyone takes their cue from the start of the show, whether that's acknowledged or not, or even people are thinking about it or not. However, that number one on the call sheet behaves is like that's the captain of the team, and everybody can kind of take their cues from that. And I think it infused the entire acting experience on set. It was spectacular. I think.
You know, real quick, that's a really interesting point that I hadn't thought about actors and kind of saying, well, if the other actor in the scene isn't doing something great, then I'm going to get that scene. And a lot of times, I mean, the bottom line is in the editing bay, the editors and the directors are looking for performance. They're going to take the take you do 15 takes. They're going to do the take where has the best performance. If they've got two people talking and one person's got just this they're not even talking, but they've got this amazing look or this amazing performance. That's sometimes we wonder, like, why is it showing the person's face who's not talking? It's because they are killing it for the screen. And that's something I hadn't thought before, where you're right, there could be that competitiveness where they're like, if this person's not giving a good, performance, then that means the editor or the director is going to find me, in the final cut.
Look, there are actors who will sabotage the other people in the scene on purpose.
Yes.
They will make you can speak to that, I'm sure, but
The fact of the matter is, when the camera is faced at the actor who's on camera and the person is off camera, the off-camera actor, in many times, in the person who's very selfish, may not deliver a good performance so that you can react to it. And those are the kind of actors that don't want you to have any shine or camera time. And the ones that are selfless will give you the performance, either way, whether it's on them or not.
I worked with a leading man who wouldn't even show up for that. They would do all his coverage. And by the way, it's absolutely not Avery. It's absolutely not Johnny Lee Miller, who was there all the time, right? But they would just split. When it was time for coverage, they would leave, and their body double would do the over the shoulders, and the script supervisor would read the lines, And that is awful. It's awful, right?
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing because it just undermines the performance of everybody else. And like I said, that same actor would have taken that Nog speech. He would have just been like, I'm the captain, give me the speech, And so one of the things that always strikes me watching these episodes, and I think I've talked about it before, is just how generous and how much teamwork there was among the main cast and the supporting too, right? But everybody just gamers, like coming correct and working to make each other great and working to make themselves great and working to make the best show possible, because they understood that the rising tide raises all boats, or they understood that this is jazz that we're playing together, or whatever the vibe was. Because like I said, as you guys know, as I've said before, we weren't on set all that much, but you can see it in the work, right? You can see it when you watch it. It's just apparent. And so it was lovely to watch the episode and just like see all that. Something that I appreciated all over again,
Yeah. I was going to say, you can definitely see it in the work. You can see everybody's commitment to each other and to the story, and because it's the only way to make it believable, to have everyone involved exist in this world, in this environment. And if somebody, says, okay, I've done my coverage, I'm out, that just drops the ball on the whole world and the work that you're putting out there. And it's unfortunate when people do that, because it sabotages not just the other actors' work, but the entire work of everyone else who is putting so much into creating these stories.
Yeah, and like one of the things that teamwork let happen is Lita gets to shine, Nog gets to shine, Ram gets to shine, Dukat, Wayoon, they get to shine. Like Damar is barely a character in this, but eventually he gets his time too, right? And everybody is part of the family. Everybody is able to have the best foot forward. They all showed tremendous faith in the scripts too. There's stuff when you're watching it, like I'm understanding like the faith it takes for Max to play some of those ROM scenes as goofy as he plays them in an episode like this, and know that it will work. Like when he's talking about when they're doing the mine scene, he's talking about the closets and like all that stuff, or when he comes back and he's like, I'm a spy for the Federation, like don't tell anyone, brother, but I'm a spy. And he's and Quark's line like, oh God, Starfleet is even more desperate than I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it allows those lovely moments, which are such an important part of Deep Space Nine. They're probably the things I'm most proud of, is like all these surprise. Like, look, I think the action sequences in this are really good. The Starfleet battles are fun. The tension is good. I think all that stuff works. But like the things I'm most proud of when I watch this episode again are like Worf and Dax and here's something to come back for. It's the baseball. It's those like little character moments that I just like look at and I'm like, man, we were doing really good work. You know,
really good work. As opposed to the battle stuff is all well and great, but you have to have something to fight for. Otherwise, the battles are meaningless. So this is why it's so important that all of this other stuff be touched upon, because otherwise it's just a battle, and then who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, there are characters I wish we could have seen in the episode even too, right? We did have to make some choices, like Keiko's not in it, you know, and I think that and Molly aren't.
But she gets a NAM.
Yeah.
A non-appearance mention.
Yes, but you know what I mean? It's like, that would have been nice to see, you know? But we did what we did our very best. It's a very chock full episode. So it was just one of those things where it's like, we had to make decisions ultimately. I think there was a scene, and I think we had to cut it for time for her. Like at some point we were writing a scene for her. It was very early on. And I think it was just like, God, I just don't have time. You know, it sucked.
Well, you know what I was most impressed with was just the overall writing of this episode. I mean, there were so many moments where I was just like, wow, that's excellent writing. And a lot of times, you know, the episodes, they really stand out for their dialogue. And this episode really stood out even more so for the mapping out that you must have done in order for every character to have a very believable motivation and very believable storyline. Like, it feels like one of the hardest things in screenwriting is, you know, that this character needs to be here or needs to go here. This is the end point. But how do you create something in universe that makes sense to where people go, oh yeah, that works. That makes sense. Like Jake Sisko staying on the station. Okay, well now he's a writer. That works. Major Kira had this brilliant moment where she says, on behalf of the Bajoran, you know, militia or whatever, and she says, welcome to Deep Space Nine. She also says, as a representative for the Bajoran militia, I have to protest this, you know, Captain Sisko or whatever. She has these moments where that, to me, felt the most real out of almost anything. It felt completely accurate and totally real. And sometimes you chance upon those things, and sometimes you guys are just beating yourselves up for 6 weeks trying to figure out, how do I get this to work?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't 6 weeks; it was more like 6 days, because that's just the amount of time.
Long days, man.
But yeah, like that was a big part of breaking this episode, was finding those moments for everyone. One of the things I want to mention though is like a non-scripted moment, which I can't even remember which scene it is. I think it's in the scene where she says, now that that's done with. But there's a moment where Nana just has this expression on her face where she has this like, I can't even describe her expression. It's just a moment, a silent moment where she just has this amazing reaction. I can't remember what scene it's in, but it stood out.
Was it the moment when he announces that they're evacuating the station?
I think it might be, yeah. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh,
she has a like look on her face like, okay, this is happening. And like, I'm going to have to deal with this crap. And like, here we go, you know? Mm-hmm. But like, it's both like unhappy, but also strong. It's just, those you can't script. Those moments you know, the actors find and you highlight when you find them in dailies. And it's just beautiful. Like, so for all the planning, like there's still wonderful unexpected moments all the way through the thing that are just delivered by the cast and the crew. You know, there's like the way things are shot. You know, I think it's a really well shot episode. I think Craig did a really nice job directing it. I think the mood of the piece works really, really well. And then, like, you know, those space battles are pretty damn good, you know, especially for the time. I was just noticing when I was rewatching it, maybe it's because I was rewatching it in HD, you know, but like the flames on the ships, those are real fire. That's real fire that they composited in. So, you know, like they were setting stuff on fire they were setting stuff on fire in some parking lot or some street on Paramount lot. They were literally just like setting all these fires and filming them, right, against black probably, to get those flame elements that are on the Cardassian and Dominion ships as they're in the battle. Like that's not how they do it now. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, it's all fake. But back then, the fires were real. So like, I just was remembering, like, God, these guys used to just go out there and blow stuff up all day long and film it because they needed like explosions and fire, and it was like setting off pyrotechnics and like all this stuff that they used to do to get the elements that they then composited in, and it's both kind of like, oh wow, that's cool, but it also gives it like a feeling of reality that I think is a little different from all the CG stuff in a weird way.
Totally.
Like your eye knows those flames are real, you know.
We've got to take
now where they can make anything.
We're going to take a quick break, real fast. We're going to come right back on that. I don't know how we're going to be able to talk about all this, but we're going to try to, because this is so much good stuff. Thanks again for joining us, Robert. Everybody at home, stay tuned. We'll be right back in like a second and a half on the 7th Rule.